Hello, I'm Anishtha Roy Chaudhary from the PGDM General Management batch of Xclusive Jamshedpur, and it's my real pleasure to introduce Mr. Jacob, Group Chief Human Resources Officer at Aster Healthcare. With over 3 decades of rich HR leadership experience across the Middle East, Africa, India and Southeast Asia, Mr. Jacob has been at the forefront of driving organizational transformation and building high-performance cultures. He has also received multiple national and international honors for his contributions to the HR field. At Aster DM Healthcare, he leads strategic people initiatives for over 50,000 employees, focusing on leadership development, cultural transformation, and enhancing employee experience. Welcome to the podcast, sir.
Thank you so much, Tanishta. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you, sir. I hope you're having a great experience.
Yeah, very much.
Excel,
I think it's been hectic but thoroughly enjoyable. As I always said to the director also, that it's so wonderful coming back to a B school because your intellectual curiosity prowess also enhances considerably, given that you're dealing with students who thoroughly research about the organization, about you, and ask questions in line with the research that they've done.
Absolutely, sir. So we'll begin with the questions.
Sure,
yes, sir.
please.
So, sir, you've led transformation projects across countries and industries. So, what, in your view, truly defines successful transformation at the enterprise level?
So I think, transformation is a big word today. Companies say that we are transforming, we are doing this, we're doing that. But at the end of the day, for transformation to work, there are certain key elements which need to be put in place. I think the first aspect is that why are we doing this transformation, or why are we bringing about this change, and what does it entail? What is the larger picture? And in the larger picture, what impact does it have for all our stakeholders, whether it is our employees, whether it is our external stakeholders, our partners, our vendors. So in all of it, how does transformation impact the lives of all of our stakeholders, and what is it that we need to do for each of them? So for example, if you take for employees in transformation, what is it? How do their lives change? How do their lives change for the better? What is it that needs to be done? So there's an element of trust, there's an element of communication, and there is an element of what I would say the change process and protocol which needs to be done in detail, so that they really understand truly the larger picture and its impact on the organization, impact on them, and as I said, the impact on larger stakeholders. So there is culture, there is communication, there is trust, and the larger picture. These are the elements which must be taken into account.
That's a powerful perspective, sir. And you stressed on the why and what part. So I believe knowing your why and what is more important than knowing your hows, because we are extremely outcome oriented in today's world. But knowing your why better than your what and how will truly help you drive and sustain the process.
Agreed. So I think and what happens in most organizations is there's a lot of inward-looking KPIs. So these inward-looking KPIs really don't have much effect because you're not taking into account the various variables on which it has impact. So you need to have, one is your external-facing KPI is one, and only if you know the direction where you need to go, only then you will know how to get there. So the what has to be answered in detail. You have to go granular to understand the route or the path to get there.
Yes, sir. So that brings me to my next question. Culture often determines whether a transformation sustains or fails. So how do you go about building a future-oriented, high-performing culture?
See, culture is something that is not just something which can be invented or on something that's saying on day, on this particular day, this is the culture that we want. It's a well thought through process which takes a couple of years to bring into place. It's all about how leaders behave, how our values are enshrined, and how do they get reflected in daily behaviors. So there is a detailed process if you want to get the right culture. So you got to think through your organization, what it wants, what it makes a difference, and culture is that secret ingredient to all success of the organization. So I would say, culturally, if the foundation is robust, you get everything else right. And I say culture is something that has to be lived every day, whether it is your employees, whether it is stakeholders who come to your organization, they have to physically see these behaviors being displayed in the workforce. So culturally, the organization has to undergo that change to say that, yes, this is the kind of culture that we need to build. And in order to get there, these are the steps that we will take there. Just by writing a tagline for your business or putting up certain values is not culture. The way, as I said, senior leaders behave, how they approach their team members, the emotional connect that they have with the team members, all those are ingredients to culture which make a difference and which gives you a unique advantage to the way in which your organization trumps over other organizations, whether it's in the same industry or outside of the industry.
Thank you, sir. So this brings me to my next question for Mr. Manish from Aster Healthcare. Healthcare as an industry has its own complexities. So how does HR strategy in healthcare differ from the other sectors you've worked in?
So it's the healthcare industry is very different than any other industry. In all the earlier companies that I worked for, were all product based. Healthcare is very service oriented, right? Service based organization. Now, in service based organizations, wherein the output that we are looking at is more towards quality of care and the patient outcomes, the HR strategies needs to be aligned more towards people focused rather than profitability, etc. So that is one. The other piece is the complexity around the kind of skills that are working for healthcare. For example, there are doctors, there are nurses, there are paramedics, which will have different kind of licensing requirements, etc., which are very different than any other industry. So the HR strategies revolves around how to make the things more simpler for them to come and work for the organization. The third piece is around in healthcare is a sector wherein people work with a lot of stress and burnouts. So it's very, very important for us to look at different kind of well-being engagement activities which helps them to overcome these burnouts and be very, very productive at the organization.
So it has to be an employee-first strategy.
Correct.
Always.
Absolutely.
So this brings me to my next question for Mr. Shahid from Aster Healthcare. When designing organizational structures, how do you ensure alignment between strategy, execution, and people capabilities?
Thank you. First of all, very good question. So when we are talking about building an organization structure, we first think and see what are the strategies, what are the priorities that we need to get, where we want to achieve, what goals that we are setting for the organization in maybe in next 3 to 5 years, and see what are the digital transformation, what are the operational excellence, clinical excellence that we want to bring in, which is aligning to the organization goals and strategy. So once we have a better picture of what we want to achieve, maybe over the period of 3 to 5 years, then we will go back to our internal capability, seeing that whether we have enough capability to get where are we currently we are at and where we are gonna reach. So then we will map the internal capability who can support us reach our goal, and then once we map the internal capability, we identify what are the skill set which is required, which is not there currently. Then we prioritize those skill sets, and then we talk about the organization structure. Organization structure never should be hierarchy driven, because many organizations what they do mistake is they focus on hierarchy driven, and they lose the element of having the right skill set, right capability in the right place. So then when you map those capability, when you have the structure, when you define your strategy, then you build everything together, irrespective of whether you have a flat line or maybe I would say that a parallel line to business or function. You define those, and then you try to get where you want to be. That's how you achieve. And while we achieve, definitely this needs to be executed well with different business stakeholder, get their alignment. We need to have one goal, not like when we have different vertical, everything put together. We should always define their organization has one goal, one mission and vision. How do we get there as one goal, one Aster? So that's how we build, and then that's how you need to form the structure.
That's a great answer, sir. So this brings me to my next question for Ms. Fabina from Aster Healthcare. Ma'am, the role of HR has evolved significantly. So how does it influence strategic HR, and how does it drive business outcomes in today's fast-paced world?
Sure. Tanishta, earlier HR was looked into more of an administrative and just a support function, but now we are a driver of success, right? What we do is we strategically partner with business in making decisions and aligning with business goals. And there's a lot of importance to given to data-driven and technology as well in HR. A lot of importance given to change management, where we actually, the HR leads in guiding the entire organization on the transformation part. We also give a lot of importance on employee engagement and making sure that we structure programs where employees are more satisfied and they stay happily with the organization. So HR also plays a very important role in collaborating with senior leadership and C-level team members, ensuring that we are aligning the business goals and achieving the results at much more collaborative way. So like I said, we are just not support functions, we are drivers of success. That's how I would like to put it across.
Thank you, ma'am. So this brings me to my final question for Mr. Jacob. So finally, what advice would you give to emerging HR leaders aspiring to operate at the CXO level in the coming decade?
I think this is a question I've heard at most forums. But I think, from before I get to the question, I think we've given our deep expertise and more so experience in what we do within the healthcare industry and specifically what we do in Aster. But I think what young professionals or young budding people who are looking at taking on senior positions in management should really be looking at, I think one of the key things for differentiation today is curiosity. So what do you do in terms of being curious, being inquisitive? These are the new competencies which are required today. And along with that, I think it is also, you should have a hunger to take on projects at a young age, try and get maximum exposure as possible so that you get varied experiences. That's what matters. So rather than sticking to a certain domain area and saying, I'll only work in this area, I'm an expert in this domain area, I think in the younger years of your professional life, you need to have varied experiences which make a difference. So I think curiosity, inquisitiveness, varied experiences and hunger to take on more projects. So I think that is what the younger generation should look at. Not saying a large range of competencies, 10, 12, which really doesn't make a difference. Focused approach and having that hunger to do more. So I think with that, we rest our case. Thank you.
So with this, we come to the end of our podcast. Thank you for such great and insightful answers. And I'm sure that your answers are truly going to help all of us navigate the ever-evolving HR landscape. So to our viewers, thank you for tuning in. Stay curious. Thank you so much.